Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're zeroing in on the teachings and writings of Shufeng, the guide of Life Chan Yuan, or, to use the original phrasing, Lai Chan Dao Yo Shufeng de Chao Hui He Zhu Zhuo. We're going to unpack this incredibly passionate, vivid manifesto he wrote back in April 2007. It's called Chasing the Climax, Embrace a Brilliant Life. And let me tell you, this isn't just your run-of-the-mill philosophical essay. It's a forceful, wake-up call kind of declaration about how to actually exist in the world. It's designed to shake us out of our complacency and totally challenge how we view our struggles, our purpose, and really our ultimate destination.
Okay, let's dive into this. Right out of the gate, Shufeng anchors his whole philosophy in this one unforgettable metaphor. He says, "This is my life, a mighty river, surging forward, flowing endlessly, rushing toward the vast blue ocean. Life isn't a stagnant pond, it's not some quiet little stream, it is a relentless, mighty river." I mean, reading that you can almost hear the water roaring, right? By defining life as this endlessly flowing force, the text instantly demands we view existence as active, loud, and constantly in motion. It's an aggressive embrace of momentum.
So, that brings us to the very first major theme mapped out in the text. Part 1, the River of Life. Let's see exactly how Shufeng expands on this whole idea of dynamic motion.
Now, obviously, a surging river is going to hit obstacles, but the source material frames these hardships not as tragedies we need to run away from, but as the very things that give the river its power. Notice the specific challenges he talks about: clearing thorns, crossing mountains, braving storms. Later on in the text, Shufeng even mentions literal wolves, tigers, and demons. But rather than retreating, the manifesto insists that a brilliant life roars, sweeps, and charges right through them. The obstacles? They're just there to be churned up by the river's waves so you can realize your grand dreams.
You can just feel the sheer determination here. If there is a path, I will walk it. If not, I will carve a bright trail, whether my sweat soaks the earth or my blood stains rivers, lakes, and seas. Wow! The manifesto completely rejects the whole concept of failure. According to Shufeng, failure only exists if you actually abandon your ideals and lose heart. As long as you've got breath in your lungs, you are carving that trail. It's a super powerful, almost overwhelming call to absolute perseverance.
Moving right along to Part 2, Rejecting Mediocre Existence. Having set the stage for what a brilliant life should look like, the manifesto takes this sharp, critical turn to examine exactly what it's fighting against.
So the crucial point here is understanding these traps of mediocrity. The text just rapid fires a list of mundane, material pursuits that it flat out rejects. It calls out a life consumed by petty desires. People constantly anxious over just food and drink, clinging to their comfort, or squandering their days in idleness. It heavily criticizes those lost in the endless pursuit of wealth, lust, fame, and profit. The argument is that calculating your personal gain and loss with this kind of worldly cleverness actually completely blocks your true path. It's a total refusal of a stagnant, consumer-driven life.
Now, what's really fascinating here is the stark contrast he draws, because Shufeng doesn't just reject mundane, materialistic pursuits, he equally rejects futile asceticism. The text criticizes those who waste their lives on these futile thoughts of attaining enlightenment by just suppressing their own nature. He describes this retreat from the real world as shrinking into a miserable lair, calling it the narrow vision of a well-dweller who lives in a sesame-sized world. So he's charting a course right down the middle, neither obsessing over material wealth nor retreating into isolated self-deprivation.
And all of this culminates in this fantastic, intense declaration. No, I refuse such a life. Absolutely not. The rhetorical style here is just so declarative and sharp. By practically yelling this onto the page, Shufeng creates this massive separation between himself and those traditional mediocre paths. It's a forceful clearing of the slate, making room for the totally new philosophy he's about to introduce.
Which brings us to Part 3, Tools for the Journey. Look, if we are committing to carving a bright trail through the mountains, we are definitely going to need an arsenal. But the real wealth for this journey, it's entirely made up of internal character traits. Check out the arsenal required here. Unyielding honesty, speaking the truth without striking from the shadows. Absolute resilience. And importantly, flexible thinking. The text beautifully notes that if the mountains don't turn, well, the rivers will. If the east is dark, the west will shine. Shufeng explicitly states that these virtues far surpass any formal educational degrees or material riches. You absolutely must, as he puts it, Grasp the rudder of life firmly in your own hands.
And the imagery he uses is just incredibly vivid. Listen to this. Even in the faintest breath, I will dance a passionate tango on the edge of death. It's such a surprising, awesome metaphor. Right in the middle of a philosophical text, suddenly we're talking about a passionate tango. But it's there to inspire boundless courage over fear. It tells the reader that even when you're facing the absolute extreme limit of existence, you shouldn't just try to survive. You should dance. You should engage with the danger passionately.
So armed with this courage and these virtues, what's the actual action plan? Well, the text calls for shattering old broken relics. Shufeng claims to draw his wisdom from the Book of Heaven without words, carrying this unstoppable, invincible force. The goal isn't just to sort of tinker around the edges of the old world. No, it's to use new thoughts and methods to build something entirely new from the ground up, a radiant paradise for humanity.
And that ambition leads perfectly into our final section, Part 4, Building a Shared Paradise. Now we finally get to see exactly where this surging river is ultimately trying to go.
I want to pose this question directly to you. What do you think is the ultimate destiny of this journey? With all this intense talk of solitary strength, carving your own path, and literally dancing on the edge of death, you might expect the end goal to be some state of elevated, solitary enlightenment. You know, a solitary superhero standing alone on a mountain peak. But actually, that is not what the teachings of Life Chanyuan point toward at all.
The actual destination revealed in the text is a deeply shared, joyfully lived experience. The river is flowing toward health, abundance, and freedom. But importantly, this is a communal paradise. It's all about filling the path of life with joy, happiness, and contentment, and, crucially, ensuring that those feelings are shared with everyone else. And this brilliantly illustrates the final core philosophy of the manifesto. Consider this striking comparison. Zui Feng explicitly rejects the solitary path. He literally says he won't emulate the ancient philosophers Wangzi's solitary wandering, and he flat out refuses to act like selfish predators who feast alone. Instead, he models his vision on the communal paradise, following Buddha's compassion and sharing blessings together, acting just like a hive of bees sharing nectar.
I will stand alongside my brothers and sisters, overcoming hardships together, and sharing joy, spreading love and kindness along the way. This line really emphasizes the deeply collective aspect of his philosophy. The ultimate goal of this unstoppable force, this mighty river, is to arrive at a place where humanity builds its most glorious palace together, rather than as isolated individuals. All that intense personal willpower we talked about earlier, it's ultimately meant to serve the community.
To summarize this incredible narrative arc we've just walked through, the text demands that we live fully to the extreme. Yes, life is fleeting. The manifesto absolutely acknowledges that life is but a dream, fleeting and empty. But rather than using that as an excuse to just give up, Zifeng argues that this is the exact reason we must experience it to the absolute maximum. We have to fully feel it without a single regret, constantly chasing the climax of what it really means to be alive.
Which leaves us with this final thought. In our modern world, we so often feel divided, right? We're told to either hustle endlessly for material wealth or disconnect completely and retreat into quiet isolation. So, does Zhu Feng's manifesto, this call for surging, unstoppable, yet deeply communal paradise, does it offer us the ultimate third path? It's a really fascinating question to reflect on as you chart the course of your own mighty river. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep exploring.